I would say maybe it's raising them in faith, right? Um,
Okay, okay.
Raising them in faith. Fear and love are actually very closely put together. Um, you know what I'm saying? Because it's our love for our children that causes us to fear.
Let's go, let's go, let's grow, let's grow, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's go, let's go, let's grow, let's grow, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's go, let's go.
All right, folks, welcome to Black Dad Unfiltered, part 3 of our 3-part series, parenting from the Black mom, Black dad perspective, unfiltered conversation. I have my guest with me, my good friend for nearly 20 years. I call her Mama B, but the world knows her as Brandice Manuel. Brandice, welcome. Tell us a little bit
Hey.
about yourself.
It is good to be back here again with you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this series. I am an artist by trade, an educator, and the most important job I've been entrusted to is a mom of 2 beautiful Black boys.
Here we go. Too beautiful, Dag. Folks,
They are.
she's from the shy. Give it 10 minutes. You're going to understand what I mean when I say that. You know what I'm saying? Last episode, she talking about cleaning guns, and I was like, 2 beautiful Black boys.
It's, you gotta have dimensions. You gotta have layers. Can't be one dimensional out here.
Right? All right. So we're pivoting, folks, because from the last episode, we were talking about, raising boys and girls from a mom and dad perspective. And, like always, when you're talking to a good friend, the conversation goes where it goes. But we ended that conversation talking about parenting from fear. That's really what came out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really want to dive into that, mainly from my perspective, because what I walked away with was a lot of my child rearing when it came to relationships, things of sex, was always from fear, never from a different perspective. And I don't even know what the other perspective would be. So I guess, Brandice, you're a wordsmith, you're quite loquacious, verbose, right? Like, what would you call it? Like, if we're not parenting from fear, and let's not be easy and say parenting from love, but what would we frame it if we're talking about how to, raise children to be, to how to select their mate, not being afraid to talk to them about sex. Like I don't even know what to call it. I just know I call it protect you, but I realize I'm raising you from fear. I mean, what are your thoughts? You know what I mean?
I think that, I would say maybe it's raising them in faith, right?
Okay.
Raising them in faith. The fear and love are actually very closely put together. You know what I'm saying? Because it's our love for our children that causes us to fear, right? It's the love. We love them so much that our worst fears are connected to our children, right? My worst fear would be for something to happen to my child, or for my child to get put into a situation where I cannot help them and I cannot protect them. So I think it's natural as an instinct. I also think that, like, culturally, what we go through and the situations that we're placed in this country, it takes a lot of awareness, consciousness, and effort to not parent from a place of fear. Because just simple, like, driving, right? And I saw something on social media, and this young guy was driving, and the police pull him over, and he has his dash cam, and I think it was a lawyer, and she was saying, you gotta have the dash cam. And so, yeah, that's smart. And even I was thinking, like, well, is there an app? We need an app. And I start Googling apps, and my kids are not even anywhere near ready to drive yet. But I'm just like, shoot, it's one more thing I have to think about and parenting them. So it's really easy to get caught up in the effort to protect your children, to parent them out of fear of things that are outside of your control. We know that they're learning and they should be able to learn in a safe space like some people's kids get to learn and have a learning experience of boys will be boys, or you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when we have this, like, I feel like culturally we know that our children are not given a lot of second chances, and nobody's going to sit there and explain away the fact that just developmentally they're actually doing what's normal developmentally for their ages. But there's this greater expectation for them to have it together, to know better, to always make the right decision at the right time, despite the fact that science would say their prefrontal cortex isn't developed. You know, like they don't have the capacity to have as much forethought and foreshadowing upon the results of their actions. So this is very, very normal. So this is something that we have to work at as parents to be mindful of, because it's not fair that we send them to the world with anxiety and fear.
Wow. You said a lot just now, and I just want to unpack it a little bit, because the moment you said fear and love are closely related, that blew my mind. Because again, if you go into scripture, right?
Yeah.
Right. Your fear of the Lord is actually the way you love him. Fear of disappointing him and all these other things that come with it. But I also appreciated how you laid the foundation for don't feel bad if you are parenting from this perspective, because almost everything that's around you in your environment is coaching you to parent from that perspective. And I also like the fact that parenting in faith, right, which now ties down to principles, right? Principles are universal, right? And what principles are you teaching, right? Which even now draws more out the scripture to me, right? So this is powerful. But let's get down to, I'm just going to ask you, because one of my biggest fears as a dad, let me not say, one of the things I'm concerned about as a dad is two things. One, my daughter being with someone that is emotionally and physically abusive. And I'm not talking about an old daughter. I'm not talking about when she's 20. I'm talking about 18, 19, because it can happen young. And you not coming to talk to me and let me know so that we can get you out of this situation.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of my fears. And then concerns. Another concern I have, because I have a young son. I mean, he's older. He's in his 20s now. Of him not realizing what's at stake. And now that he's in his 20s, the stakes are higher.
Yeah.
And right. And you now putting yourself in a dynamic, and it's always relationship based. Everything else I'm almost okay with. You putting yourself in a dynamic where now someone else is holding your life hostage, you know, because you've done something. So that's always interesting. But let's go back to the girls, because you're a mother. You're a mother of boys, but you're also a woman, which is always important, because sometimes we forget mom doesn't mean she stopped being a woman, right?
Yeah.
and having a woman's experience. How do we have this conversation? How do you have these conversations? And what's a good way to tell your daughters beyond just don't let a man put his hands on you? Like, how do we coach in faith or raise them in faith when it comes to something like that? Like, you're going to be my counselor today as a mom.
I think the first thing I would say is something that you do really well, and that is you model the relationship to them that they should expect, right? So the way you show up for your daughters is the baseline of what they become accustomed to. So if you yell a lot, they will be accustomed to a man who yells. As a matter of fact, that is going to be their comfort zone. They get with a guy who is maybe too quiet, unless they're super aware. I react this way when people yell, so I want to find a person who's not a yeller. Unless they're just super aware of that, their default setting is going to be, yeah, he might yell and we like get into it and we be arguing, but I know he loved me though. That's their comfort zone. So the first thing you do is you model the baseline of what they will come to be comfortable with and expect because they don't know anything else. The other thing is be so intentional about it, right? So you take your daughter out to dinner and you pull out her seat. Yes, you're modeling it, but also it doesn't hurt to say, hey, if a guy really likes you, he's not gonna think twice about pulling out your seat.
Before you go, I don't want to cut you off. Can we stay there a little bit? Because again, one of the reasons why we can do this is we can just have these real life black talk, right?
Yeah, come on.
In black conversations, you never get to finish a sentence.
Right? No, not at all. Not at all. You know me. You know I got a problem with the interjection clause. So I'm working real hard right now.
So I get what you say with the modeling. I'm gonna throw in a new perspective of media, right? Because I've realized as a dad, I'm doing my best to model the behavior, but I am fighting a very powerful machine, right? So I do this thing with my daughter, both my daughters. They can't leave the car until I open the door for them. Doesn't mean I walk away for half an hour, they're still in the car. It means let me open this door. My oldest daughter, like, why do you do this, man? Listen, I'm an independent woman. I don't need nobody to open the door for me. I'm like, where you getting this from? Right? I'm like, oh, get whatever you watching, throw that in the garbage. Right?
Yeah.
Not that I don't want you to be self-sufficient, right? But your dad is opening the door for you. So you sparked this. And so I actually had a conversation with her. And I said to her, and I think I told you this before offline. I said, do you know why I'm adamant about opening all the doors? Why I was so adamant about your brother opening the doors? Why your brother can never walk in front of you? He had to walk behind you. I said, one, I'm very old school. We are your protectors. So we have to protect you. Not to say you can't protect yourself.
Right.
We are another added layer of protection. But I never forget, I said, the reason why I open the door consistently is because when you get into a relationship with a man, you need to know, or I'm showing you that it doesn't matter if I'm tired. It doesn't matter if I'm raining. It doesn't matter when it gets uncomfortable or it gets inconvenient. I will always show up consistently. Right. So it's not about that you can't open the door for yourself. It's a matter of you seeing that I am going to do this consistently. I don't care. It does not matter. And, and they still fight it. They can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
But my youngest brother,
it's in there. And they can't. What you experience is very hard to eradicate, right? What you actually go through in life, your experiences, you can, at this age, right? And they're kind of experimenting with what kind of life. And you got your social media influence and this movement is happening as independent woman and all that kind of stuff. That's great. And right now, that might not be actually the most important thing because they don't even really date like that, right? So they don't even have anything to bounce it off of. Do I like this or do I not like that in relationships? Because they're not there yet. But trust me, when they get there and they are deciding, did I like this experience with this guy? Did I like this experience with that guy? When the guy opens the door for them and pulls out their chair for them and does those things, it's going to click and it's going to be like, okay, I see you. Because she has the knowledge and the awareness in her psyche already. It's already in her brain that this is what my dad told me I should expect from someone. And this guy is actually doing it and I don't have to say a word. That's going to give him points when she starts checking her boxes. That's going to start checking some boxes as this might be a quality person who's exhibiting some of the behaviors that my father taught me to expect from a potential mate or partner, or how I know that someone's looking out for me.
See, I love that, but in addition to that, I'm always thinking now, because again, we're talking about parenting out of fear, right? I am definitely afraid that no matter how much I try to model myself, and it came in strictly because I love my daughters, of what is acceptable, what you should expect, how you should show up. Because I'm also big on teaching my daughters how to prepare themselves for a relationship, right? But my fear is also, I guess, part into society. Is society doesn't make it easy for young girls of any color. But then
No.
when you start adding in these different dynamics of color, makes it even a little bit tougher. And is the media is designed to corrupt their mind. You know what I mean? Like,
Intentionally, 100%.
right. So that's my fear. It's not like when you and I grew up, and I'm older than you, but it's not like when we grew up. It is different now, and I don't have this. I can't. I don't know what to do besides keep you away. But I know keeping you away is not healthy. But I've always said to anyone who comes to me, if I know cigarettes are addictive, I'm not giving you a cigarette.
Right. Yeah.
So how do I give you? How do I? And that's where the whole parenting and faith comes in. And I'm hoping to walk away from this conversation with a formula. That I
So
can. Go ahead.
my father was in advertising my whole life. And so he worked on a lot of commercials. He was a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And when things would happen, like say he would work on a McDonald's commercial and he'd say, "Oh, that's my spot." And it would have that juicy burger and the lettuce.
Yeah.
I was like, "Dad, bring us that burger home. We want that burger from the commercial."
Yeah.
My dad would say, "You don't want that burger." He said, "Do you know that there's a person who comes in, they mix all different kind of chemicals and they put oil on it to make the bun look shiny, and they put the little things on there to make this look like that, and that's plastic, and this isn't real. That burger is just chemicals. They have a whole makeup artist for that burger. That burger is disgusting. You don't want that burger. That's why the burger on the commercial looks better." Once he made me aware, I could not be unaware. And because he was working in a field where it was his job to influence people's behavior, when he would come home and remove the facade and take us behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
So as I grew up, when I saw things like that, besides just filtering it, I also told my children, "Hey, you see how this commercial is doing this and that commercial is doing that?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to pay attention how many times you see this thing happening." And because these companies, I told my kids that like when they were toddlers, because I could already see how things were trying to influence them.
Mm-hmm.
And with me working in the industry as well, and on the advertising side as talent, I am also trying to relate to you, be relatable, and to influence you to purchase something. A writer wrote a script, and now here I go. And, when I'm having a long day with the kids, I really love to reach down in my purse and grab a go-go bar. It gives me all the nutrients I need. And I'm selling this to you. I've never had a go-go bar in my life, right? It's all fake, but I am doing my job. Everybody's doing their job, and the job is to influence you. So I think the best thing, again, is knowledge. You got to let your kids know, peep game, right? Doesn't mean that they won't experience it, but once you point it out, my kids will say, "Hey, Mom, I see that thing that you pointed out, they're doing it again." And I would say, "See?" Because I would say, kids don't actually like being manipulated, right? So when you point out how something is trying to manipulate them, I almost want to trigger their sense of rebellion to say, "You don't have to do that. You can do what you want to do." Right? I know all the kids vape. My kids aren't that age, but we've already talked about popcorn lung. I've already told them about how some of the microparticles of those chemicals come through, burn your throat and burn your neck and burn your lung. It's like a horror story, and they're little. Burns all your insides. I'm going to influence you as if I'm the best social media influencer. I'm going to plant the seeds that I want you to know about. And then after that, I have to just have faith. Now, as a parent, I have to have faith. I have to pray. I pray for my kids. And I have to know that God blessed me with these kids for a certain amount of time, but ultimately these children are not my creation to control, right? They have their own master plan for their life they have to work out. But I remember when I was in college, some of the stuff that my parents told me that I thought was ridiculous. I thought they're so old, they're so whack. and I saw stuff falling out just like they said it would.
Yeah.
Just like they told me it would. And I thought, this is crazy. I can't believe this. So I was on the phone like, Mom, let me tell you what's going on. So what do you think I should do? You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, I'm learning she's wise. These are really wise people. They told me everything. They gave me the game in the very beginning. Then I went out and your kids are going to learn and stumble and fall and pick themselves back up. And you hope that's within the range of things that you can help them handle. But ultimately, I think if you gave them the game ahead of time so they could recognize where they were being manipulated when they finally see things pan out like how you said they would. Because one time, look, and I'll put this on my kid said, oh God, it's crazy. I'm gonna filter it the right way. He said, yeah, Mom, some of the Caucasian kids in my class think it's cool to be called saltine crackers. Minus the saltine.
Gotcha.
I said, heck, because next thing you know, they'll be setting you up to take the fall. When one thing, it was also funny. I said, all it takes is for one of them to change their mind at any given moment and say that wasn't funny. And then you are in trouble for doing something that they said is cool. I said, here's our flat line. We don't say stuff like that, period. If they think it's cool, let them say it to themselves about themselves. But you don't put yourself in that position. And I said, do you see how something like that could happen? He's had his own experiences with these people. Yeah. He's not dumb. He was like, yeah. Now, I don't know what he's going to do when he gets back to school, but I've given him the knowledge to be aware that this is a situation that I know it seems fun and harmless right now, but it could flip. And if it so did flip, one, I'm glad he already told me about it, right?
Yeah.
And two, I think he will know, my kid is the kind who kind of shoots from the hip. He'll probably say verbatim to everybody, my mom told me that this was a setup and y'all was and y'all was going to eventually use this against me, and I ain't listening. I wish I did, because look at y'all.
So it's funny because I've had a couple of conversations with my son, and it's always, Dad, you always got these what ifs, and he's like, you got to experience life. I said, yes, but you still got to be prepared.
Yeah.
Right. And as you see my son's journey, we've talked offline, so I ain't gonna throw him all out there, right? But you've seen all the experiences he's had. I think far too many for a kid his age, but they're not unique to kids like him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you sit there and you're saying, okay, I'm trying to get ahead of this with you,
right?
But you're someone that needs to experience it to understand it, and I'm struggling with this.
That's hard as parents.
So my son was he was at school, for what it's worth. I won't say what the school is. And I don't know if I have the full story, but he's like, I just took a walk at 2 a.m. I said, who the freak takes a walk at 2 a.m.? Now, the old me is like, you going someplace. But knowing my son, you would do something crazy, like just walking. You know what I mean?
I'm tracking. That's spirit free.
Right? So he gets surrounded by 6 campus police and 2 police cars.
Wow.
Right? And he is like, he shows his school ID as if that means something to them. And he obviously, it's funny, it fits the description of someone who's going around looking at cars, and my son is emptying his pockets. I don't have a flashlight, anything. And when we're talking, I said, do you understand that no one was there to tell your story? Like, if you ended up dead, there's no one who could tell me the real truth of the story now. And I warn you, because I'm a former athlete, nothing good happens after dark.
That's what my dad said. Ain't nothing.
Right? And I get it, because you want to go to the club, but understand, and so it was, I tried to prepare you, but now you're walking alone, and you could have lost your life.
And that's not fair, because the truth of the matter is he did nothing wrong.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is he didn't do anything wrong. Is it unusual? Sure. Was it illegal? No. Not to mention, lots of people find themselves up at 2, 3 in the morning, just kind of with their minds racing, with thoughts
yeah,
going. It's a nice night, and I could see you feeling safe on your campus.
yeah.
Say, let me just take a walk, and I won't, go into too much detail. I will say, that's one of the things I just thank God. Like when I at HBCU, one thing I know wasn't happening was nobody was profiling you because you was Black. You get what I'm saying? Nobody was saying it was a Black kid who fit the description
Because they
because they're
all.
all Black kids, and you never know. It could be a Black diplomat's kid. It could be a Black judge's kid.
That's
It could be
fair.
a Black lawyer's kid. It could be, you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there was that different environment, but that's the type of stuff that would make you as a parent, you're like, see, I'm right. I'm not being fearful. I'm being realistic because this is the realistic world that we live in. And so you have to balance that. You
That's
have to
fair.
balance that. Yeah.
That's fair. And
Because
granted,
were you right? Yes. But was he wrong? No.
no, yeah, that's a fair point. And again, no indictment to the school because I can understand both sides, right? Right. But it's again, I'm just unearthing all of this. My fear of my kids getting pregnant early, or I don't know what early is, but for me, getting pregnant before age of 21, 23, 24, not being able to kind of figure yourself out before you have kids. And this is why I always keep the boys. I keep the girls away from my son because I'm just like, us boys, we don't know what we want till we're 25. And until then, it's okay to have your friends, but kind of stay focused. Because once you derailed, it's kind of hard to get back on track. And with my girls, the way society has it, if something happens, society is not sensitive to you. There's no one coming around to be like, okay, you're a young girl that, have this experience. And so that, but to your point, I'm listening, and it's not just the modeling. I love what you said. I'm the social media now. It's
Yeah.
figuring out, and maybe that's what we have to do is as parents, when it comes to parenting for fear, is figure out how do we become a more powerful social media mechanism. Funny enough, that's one of the reasons why me and Carlos started Black Dad. Was to kind of, the goal of Black Dad, if I have a shared division, is to create content, procure, source content that presents Black fathers in a positive light.
Right.
And then eventually from there, expanding and showing positive imagery of the Black family so that our kids can now have a different influence point, right? There is no more Cosby Show. There is no more Different World, right?
Yeah.
And we need something that shows, that says, hey, there's another perspective. Because I'm not sold that 100% of kids are going to listen to us in the moment. And I'm fine with you figuring it out when you're older. But in the moment is when I need you to actually be listening to me. Because I still feel the stakes. I always feel the stakes are high. And maybe that's just me putting undue pressure on the whole thing.
I think that in the end, I think there's this divine order to how it all works out.
Sure.
Which is why I say you have to have faith, right? You have to have some level of faith. Because even sometimes I step back from a situation and I look, and especially because I'm raising these young men, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to overprotect them. I don't want to over coddle them, but I don't want to also throw them to the sharks. And so a little bit of that, I have to step back. And for me personally, I've become more accustomed to praying and saying, God, please lead me in what is the best way? Show me the best way to work this situation, especially when I know that my fear is overtaking my parenting process. I can't send fearful men into the world because people do not think clearly when they are in a state of fear or anxiety.
Powerful.
They can't make sound decisions, right? So if I'm fearful and anxious, I make them fearful and anxious, and they go out with a fearful and anxious mind and make poor decisions. So I actually did the opposite of what my intention was in the first place. While I can stress the gravitas, the best thing I can do is arm myself with knowledge, right? like do my research, talk to people. That's why I reach out to you a lot.
Yeah.
Let me talk to someone who might have more knowledge on this subject than me. Let me figure out what is the real probabilities here. And then after that, I take that in, go with my gut, and I say, okay, guys, here it is. And even if I'm transparent, I'll say, look, I'm scared. Okay, I'm operating in fear, and I want to let you know that I'm working hard to mitigate that. But here's the knowledge. Here's the information I can give you. Here's what I hope for you. Here's what I want from you. And here's what I'm trying to avoid. And, you know, my boys, I'll give them a lot of knowledge. I know they're probably like, here she goes again, telling us a story.
Yeah.
But it's in there. And then, and I know sometimes they'll be like, or we'll have, here's how divinity works in my life. I'll tell them something. And then like after that, the exact situation will come up to kind of reinforce what I said. And I'll be like, see? And even when they don't like it, they'll be like, oh, I hate that she's right. Yeah. But she right. You know, they'll come to you later like, Mom, okay, I got to give it to you. You were kind of right on that, and I didn't see that coming.
That's a good point. I'm probably going to be dwelling on this for a few weeks, and because I always love to create formulas, like I said, and raising in faith. Because in almost every, as I said before, I think in almost every other aspect of their life, it's mentoring, it's tutoring, you know, it's guidance, but you still got to experience it and you still got to go through it. And then I'm here for you to talk about it at the end or talk during. Yeah. And I realize, you know, like we know as a community, and maybe that's what this conversation was about, is there's certain things for our community. We have to just be aware that this is fear driving us. Yeah. Right. And funny enough, even though we just talked about our kids having a relationship with the last episode, like how does that work? It popped up in this conversation again. So we know that that relationship dynamic is a sticking point for our community, right? Because we know what that can do. And funny enough, we know even outside of a community, the physical abuse is a big thing. Yeah. The emotional abuse is a big thing. Yeah. But I think you touched on it when you said, I'm very big on being intimate with my kids. When I say intimate, I kiss my girls on the cheek. I kiss them every morning when I drop them off at school in the forehead. Daddy loves you. I speak in the third person, right? All that other jazz, right? But again, I'm probably going to mull over a little bit more of how I can create a formula that I can pass down to them to raise your kids in faith when it comes to these sticking points. The only thing I do know is raising them actually literally in faith. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like having them spiritually grounded. Because when I can't get through to you, hopefully there's something more powerful, influential than me that can get through to you in the right way. Right. You know? Yeah. Yeah. And that, you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, it's just like over. Sorry. At the end of the day gonna end. You know, at the end of the day, we give them enough tools and teach them how to use the tools, just like a trade, right? And when they get to these situations, we hope that we've just given them the adequate tool for them to use. And I think besides us being in faith as parents, is teaching them how to have their own faith, that everything's not going to be black and white in front of your eyes. You got to go within here, and you got to go, you know, within your gut sometimes, because sometimes your eyes can deceive you. But if you are connected to yourself, to your inner self, to that inner voice, then you really have like an ace in your pocket. If we teach them how to listen to that still small voice inside of themselves, that's probably the biggest thing over everything that we could do. Because at the end of the day, these kids don't. They're gonna leave. You know that they're gonna leave. But you know what? And I'm ending on this right now. It's as a parent with the tools, I'm always fascinated by you, because I'm like, wow, you just have a way of finding the right words for the right situation and how to frame things. And I'm realizing as a parent, educating yourself, but also developing yourself and your communication skills. And I'm not trying to seem so abstract, but it is. I know my kids would listen to me if I could convey it in a way that they could hear it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, Dad, what you said was right, but we didn't like the way you said it. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting here like, I don't got time to sugarcoat and dance for you. Like we gotta get to this point. But I think even as we are giving our kids these skills, this goes back to the episode we did season 1. We have to learn how to teach as well. We have to develop that as parents so that we don't teach or coach out of fear. We teach and coach out of faith and empowerment, because your faith empowers you, right? Brandice, thank you as always. This was episode 3. We had started with 3 episodes. I'm gonna see if I can. If there's enough comments, I'm gonna bring her back. I want Mama B to be a regular on the show, man, because you can see why she's one of my closest friends in the world. She's that girl. She's that mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, folks, if you like the show, if you like the episode, please like, comment, share with someone else that could benefit from this conversation. Visit us at blackdadunfiltered.com, our YouTube page, Instagram, Facebook is at Black Dad Unfiltered. At www.blackdadunfiltered.com. Our social media is at Black Dad Unfiltered. Please follow us. We're on all major streaming platforms: iHeart, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, you name it, YouTube Music, you name it. And as always, folks, when you walk away from here, let's go, let's grow, let's get it.
Let's get it.